co-chair of the International Indian Ocean Expedition 2 Steering Group during 2015 to 22, chair of the Indian Ocean Global Ocean Observing System during 2017 to 21, member of the Executive Council of International Association for Physical Sciences of Oceans, IUGG during 2011 to 15 and in 2015 to 19. Currently, he is the chair of IUGG's Union Commission for Data and Information since 2014 and the National Vice President of Vijnana Bharati since 2022. With this brief introduction of the eminent session chair, sir, I would like to hand over the session to the session chair, sir. Please welcome and you can conduct the session, sir, please. Dr. Shenoi.
Yeah, thank you very much for a generous introduction. And also let me thank Institute of Aeronautical Engineers for inviting me to be part of this webinar, and also requesting me to chair this session today, which the main item is the talk by Dr. M.V. Ramanamurthy. And today our chief guest is Dr. C.P. Ramanarayanan, Vice Chancellor, Defense Institute of Advanced Technology, DIAT, Pune. Let me first introduce our chief guest, then I will introduce our speaker, today's speaker, and then I think we will request the speaker to deliver his talk on deep ocean mission and the blue economy, its impacts on blue economy. So Dr. C.P. Ramanarayanan, who is today's chief guest, he graduated in mechanical engineering from earlier it was called REC. Now it is, these are known as NITs in Calicut or Kozhikode, and his master's from IAC Bangalore. Further, he completed his doctoral degree from Department of Energy Systems of JNTU in Hyderabad. He is a well-accomplished defense research scientist and a technology manager. He was actively contributed to underwater propulsion systems, land propulsion systems, and fighter aircraft propulsion during span of his service. He retired from DRDO as a distinguished scientist and Director General Aeronautical Systems. Prior to that, he had enviable assignments like Chief Controller, Research and Development in HR, Director General Armament and Combat Engineering, Director Gas Turbine Research Establishment, Director Vehicle Research and Development Establishment, and Project Director for Heavy and Lightweight Torpedo Propulsion Projects in various locations across the country. He received a Scientist of the Year Award in 2005, and then from Honorable Prime Minister, he received a Technology Leadership Award in 2015. Again in 2015, he received Technology Leadership Award from Honorable Defense Minister of India. And he received a lot of other awards and citations from various professional societies and academic institutions. If I start listing all of them, I think we will not have much time for our main program, that is talk by Dr. Ramanamurthy. So he's an illustrious engineer and scientist and technology manager. He served as a board director and India's nominee in International Society for Air Breathing Engines and nominee in the director board of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. He was also president of Society of Aerospace Quality and Reliability and Aeronautical Society of India, Bangalore. He is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineers, fellow of Aeronautical Society of India, and fellow of Institution of Engineers. In addition, he is a senior life member of many organizations. He has many journal papers to his credit and has guided doctoral students and many postgraduate students in their research work. He likes reading books on understanding human behavior and on lateral thinking. So let me first welcome Dr. C.P. Ramanarayanan, the chief guest of today's function. Thank you very much, sir, for joining today's function. Let me introduce Dr. M.V. Ramanamurthy. I know Dr. Ramanamurthy for a long time, since my days in National Institute of Oceanography in Goa, because I worked there for more than a quarter century in that institute before moving to International Center for Ocean Information Services in Hyderabad. Later, I had a lot of interactions and we worked together on several projects, especially the project on the freshwater in Lakshadweep, as well as the Pondicherry beach restoration project, which I am sure Dr. Ramanamurthy will be talking about all those projects today. So Dr. Ramanamurthy is a mission director of, today he is a mission director of Deep Ocean Mission of Ministry of Earth Sciences. And he obtained his doctorate from IIT Chennai and was specialized in infrastructure projects like desalination, coastal zone management, coastal hazards like tsunami, storm surge, and urban floods, marine pollution, flood warning system, and offshore wind structures. Having 30 years of experience in ocean technology and coastal research, he has successfully demonstrated many societal-oriented projects, such as establishment of desalination plants in Union Territory of Lakshadweep, coastal protection and beach restoration at Pondicherry and Kadalur Pediyakuppam, urban flood warning system, which is called iFlows for Mumbai and Chennai cities, monitoring health of coastal waters as part of SDG 14. SDG is one of the program which has been agreed by every country, that is Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 goals together. Out of that, SDG 14 is specifically regarding life below the water, it's pertaining to the oceans. Recent projects include preparation of DPR for Kalpasar Dam with Government of Gujarat to create a largest freshwater reservoir and integrated ocean management initiative for development of framework for blue economy to be implemented by Government of India. Other recent assignment include development of marine spatial plans for ecology sensitive area of Lakshadweep Islands for holistic development and in Pondicherry and urban city along southeast coast of India. The other areas of work include development of ICZM, that is Integrated Coastal Zone Management, and shoreline management plans. Then he undertakes several feasibility studies for offshore wind farms, technical services to central, state governments and industry. Like that, he has executed more than 100 projects, much more than that, I guess. And he has published about 80 research papers in national as well as international journals. And he is AICTE INAE Distinguished Visiting Professor under DVP scheme and member of many technical and policy formulation committees and member of MOEF and CC, that is a Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, as expert appraisal committee for infrastructure and coastal zone regulation projects. Recent international collaboration include India Pacific Ocean Initiative for Marine Ecology, Pillar with Australia, coastal protection with Vietnam, sea level change and marine litter with Jamstek, Japan, and establishment of coastal research facility at Fiji. He is also the recipient of National Ocean Technology Award of Ministry of Earth Sciences in the year 2021. With this brief introduction, let me request Dr. Ramanamurthy to deliver the talk on deep ocean mission and blue economy for sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shenoi for the introduction. In fact, I had a long association with him right from NIO to when he was in INCOISE, and also as a director for both the institute which I have worked and then also with NIOT. We together worked many projects, and then in fact those projects are seen on ground. And then coming to Dr. Ramanarayanan, chief guest, so I could able to take many of advisors related to the Deep Ocean Mission, which is a member of Project Appraisal Committee, and also supports in many of the areas related to National Institute of Ocean Technology. And then Dr. Dasgupta ji, I think he is the man who asked me to have this lecture today. We had a wonderful experience with him, especially advisors in the Project Management Appraisal Committee related to the Deep Ocean Mission for funding extramural projects on the especially on the energy and freshwater, which is one of the important area. And then he also been supporting NIOT for many areas. And then Dr. Iyengar, and then most importantly, Institution of Naval Architects for providing this opportunity and for all the audience. I will share my presentation directly to give on that. Is my presentation visible?
Yeah, it is fine. We can see now. It's fine.
Thank you, sir. I think my today's talk is basically a Deep Ocean Mission, which was launched by the Ministry of Earth Sciences in 2021, but also the Blue Economy Policy, which is going to be launched shortly by Ministry of Earth Sciences. The Deep Ocean Mission got a long history. In fact, Dr. Shenoi is also one of the main key partner when they are drafting the Deep Ocean Mission document to the Ministry of Earth Sciences. So when we look at the blue economy, this is the policy from the NITI Aayog. It is a subset of national economy comprising of entire ecosystem of ocean resources, man-made infrastructure, marine and maritime, and offshore coastal zone. The difference between the normal economy and blue economy, here we bring in ecosystem into the whole loop. Normally, whenever we do development plans, we consider about society and then economy. But most of the time, ecosystem or environment is given a low priority for that. But for our future, we have been seeing this climate change and what are the impacts on that. The ecosystem plays an important role when we want to have a sustainable blue economy. That's how this blue economy has come as a sustainable blue economy. Coming to the ocean sector, many of the resources are not explored to the extent what is to be done. That is the reason why blue economy and many of the countries have already come up for the strategy papers for their own country in developing a blue economy. So they give equal importance to the economy as well as the sustainability in environment as well as inclusiveness. That's what we call it as a society purpose. So India has a 2.7 million square kilometer EEZ, NCPR of Ministry of Earth Sciences, along with many other institutes have mapped that, and then this map is already available with the India. And we have long coastline of 7,500 kilometer, and then it encompasses strategic routes and then geostrategic areas all along that. We have almost 12 major ports and 187 non-major ports. Though we classify it as only 12, but we see the magnitude of the port, that number goes to somewhere around 25 to 30 numbers in the major port. But when you look at the composition of the port itself, we have a huge potential of fisheries in the beyond territorial waters. But right now we have been doing only in the territorial waters, but we don't go beyond the territorial waters. This is where we need to explore the fisheries potential in the deep sea. And then deep sea seabed resources like petroleum, minerals, and then many other things on the system for that. We also have a huge potential for the tourism and island development. With this objective, deep ocean mission was launched by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. That was in September 2021, that late 21, with a objective to harness the ocean resources for sustainable development. It will directly support marine industry that will enhance the blue economy. The total outlay for the deep ocean mission is 4,777 crores, which will be implemented in 2 phases. In the phase 1 up to 24 with 2,800, and then rest of the one is 1,200 crores, what has been envisaged as a part of the mission. This mission is a very ambitious mission because many of the new areas or frontier areas we are going to explore on that. India has been given sites in the Indian Ocean to basically to go for exploratory mining for the polymetallic nodules. They call it as a manganese, and also on the hydrothermal sulfides, for which National Institute of Oceanography has made all the surveys on the previous areas. Now we could able to precisely identify these sites and then go for exploratory mining in these 2 areas. When we look at the composition of India, was originally allotted at 150,000 square kilometers in Central Indian Ocean. That was in 1987, but now it has been reduced to 75,000 square kilometers. Now we have signed a 15-year contract with International Seabed Authority on the mining to mine the polymetallic nodules in the exploratory mode in Central Indian Ocean. This contract is valid till 2027, but we have a huge minerals called manganese, cobalt, nickel, and copper. Especially when you go for renewable energy, most of these rare minerals will come only from the deep sea. That's how it plays a very important in 2 aspects. One is commercial exploitation, but also strategically we need to have our own footprint in the Indian Ocean, like China and then many other countries have already been taken up these areas for that. Coming to the deep ocean mission, it has 6 verticals when they formulated it for that. The vertical 1 talks about deep sea mining, development of underwater vehicles. This is essentially manned submersible, and also robotics. This is one of the new area which everyone is looking at. The manned submersible will be developed with 3 people to carry 6,000 meters into the ocean with a suite of scientific sensors. I think we have know about some of the manned submersibles which are already there. In fact, the mission of Titan, what has been done for that. Most of these, whatever surprises are there, all those things have been sufficiently addressed in the manned sub that is being designed by the National Institute of Ocean Technology. We have integrated mining system. This work has been there for last 25 years to mine at 6,000 meter water depth in the Central Indian Ocean. These are all the 2 components of the vertical 1 of basically to develop the technology for the exploring and then also harnessing the ocean non-living resources for that. Second one is Ocean Climate Advisory Services. This is where Dr. Shenoi Saab has come. I think it involves development, putting up observations in the deep ocean mission, also to develop a set of numerical models to provide a future projections of the important climatic variables in decadal with a proof of concept. But of course, once this proof of concept is ready, and then these advisory can go already on them. Right now, INCOISE has been providing advisories on the coastal areas and regional scale, but now they already extended many of advisories for the regional scale and the tsunami. But once these models are developed, we will become a almost like a conquer almost Indian Ocean and many of the other countries in not only in the tsunami but also on the other areas. So that is the whole concept of this vertical 2. When it comes to the vertical 3, most of the marine biology in the deep sea is unexplored. The vertical 3 encompasses exploration and conservation of deep sea biodiversity. It is basically inventarization of deep sea fauna and then deep sea flora. And these are very important for the, especially on the microbes, which will really help us in pharmaceuticals and then many industries, especially on the health industry, even if you want to take up these kind of for the industrial application. But also on building a capacity on the deep sea taxonomy and genomic studies. So this will enable to build a biodiversity database and bioprospecting, and then genetic microbes will be done as a part of this particular vertical. Fourth one is deep ocean survey and exploration. National Institute of Oceanography, Department of Ocean Development has done reconnaissance surveys in the many areas in past over a period of 30 years, like Indian Ocean Expedition, which is part of that. But now what we are precisely doing is going there and then see specific sites, identify what kind of minerals which contain, how do we harness these minerals for them. As a part of this endeavor, all-weather multidisciplinary vessel is also being acquired and then developed for that. Right now, we have finalized the design, and then most likely the order will be placed with one of the company in India called Garden Reach, where this vessel is going to be built at a cost of 840 crores as a part of this mission. Energy and fresh water from the ocean, which Dr. Shenoi was mentioning about that. In fact, I had an opportunity to work with desalination in the Lakshadweep, but they're all island-based plant. But suppose if you want to do it in the deep ocean, you need to develop a different technology of offshore technology, which is done by NIOT as well, where Dr. Purnima is taking care of this particular design and then proof of concept for the deep sea. Advanced marine station for the ocean biology. This is where the both within the country as well as and outside the India, many of the researchers will be brought in under the same umbrella to exchange their ideas and then translate the industrial research into the industrial application and product development through incubator facilities as a part of this marine biology station. When we go the overall budget, what has been allocated for the deep ocean mission is thrust areas are two: development of technologies for the deep sea exploration and harnessing, and second one is on the ocean survey to explore the unmapped areas of for the minerals on that. On the other hand, major thrust is given on the marine biology in development of capacity and also to map and harness the many of the biological resources in the deep sea. Other vertical, two verticals, though the budget looks very small, but the work quantum of work will be done under vertical 2 on the ocean information system is very useful for the society, especially when we want to predict the climate in the coastal areas. This particular mission has been with a 4-type structure. We have a highest policy level body with mission steering committee, which will be chaired by the Honorable Minister of Earth Sciences. Now we have a next level is Deep Ocean Council subgroup, which is chaired by the Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India. Next level is the Mission Management Council, which monitors for the administrative matters. And last one is the Project Advisory Committee, which monitors each and every vertical in toto and more of a technical design for that. Coming to the deep sea mining, NIOT has been developing many technologies, which I have told about: Deepwater ROV, Deep Sea Institute Oil Sector, and remotely ROV, and then deepwater coring system. Right now, under this mission, autonomous underwater vehicle, but right now it has been procured from the other country, but later on there are plans to develop such kind of technologies within the country itself, wherein we involve many of the other institutes like IITs, and then which also form a part of the system along with the NIOT. NIOT will be the lead agency, but other institutes will support on the specific component of the project is concerned. The last part is the manned submersible, which is very important component. I think everyone is talking about after Chandrayaan, this Samudrayaan. This is the ambition of the government of India to send these 3 people down into the deep sea up to 6,000 meters for that. Coming to the deep sea mining mission, this has been a long effort by the National Institute of Ocean Technology, more than 25 years, where we have a mining mission at the bottom and then a pumping unit at the mid stage, and then the metal, that entire slurry will be pumped from the mining mission after crushing to the pumping station. From the pumping station, it will go back to the mothership, where they will separate the water and then take only the mineral for that. It also involves so many other components, since we need to do it in the deep ocean, like electrical and then dewatering, and then many of the underwater locomotive trials, which has been there already for the deep sea mining. This is the overall concept of the deep sea mining. First, in the stage 1, a self-propelled mining mission will take the nodules and then crush it and then pump it to the collector system, which is their intermediate. From there, using high pressure and high flow rate pump, it will be pumped to the mother vessel for that. This is the overall concept. Right now, we are almost through with the first stage and second stage. These demonstrations, it is there in the laboratory stage, but need to be demonstrated for the field scale. Because one of the challenging aspects for these kind of demonstration is one is getting the vessel time and also the climate. Especially in the Central Indian Ocean, we have only 3 to 4 months really to demonstrate such kind of systems in the deep sea for that. There are specific challenges in the someone who would like to work only in the ocean. It is not in our eyes. One is from the logistic point of view, and second one is on the climate. where we are working for that. Coming to the manned submersible, already 5 countries almost they have developed the manned submersible like USA, France, Japan, Russia, and China. India will join with them once this manned sub is demonstrated in the country further. This shows the manned submersible, which was originally designed over a period of time with depth rating of 6,000 meters. It will go to 6,000 meters, and then diameter of a sphere is somewhere around 2.1 meter with the titanium alloy with the grade 23. It has 1 pilot and 2 crew with the 3 viewports. And then I have listened here because for the naval architect is more important for that. How does it operate for that? Mostly it is operated through the buoyancy, but only at some places if the vessel has to move or manned sub has to move, that will be used using these thrusters like forward, lateral, and vertical thrusters. The basically to navigate on the particular area. But ascending and descending of the manned sub, mostly it is operated to the buoyancy and then the weights which are going to be there for that. It has a endurance limit of 12 hours, but in survival conditions, it has endurance limit of 96 hours. It has all facilities of oxygen supply and then carbon scrubber systems. When something happens in the manned sub, they should survive for at least 96 hours in the system once it is rescued back to the system. It weighs around 25 tons, and then dimension is 9 by 3 by 5 meters in the system. The challenges in the technology, especially when we come to the underwater, most of the naval architects know very well for that design and then classing of the alloy, which has to withstand high pressures once we go down into the system. Second one is the fabrication of the sphere. We don't have such kind of facility in the country. We need to enhance that. And especially Eltron beam welding, which is there right now at the less the thicknesses, but we need to do further. And then second one is when we design for the submarine life support system, and then underwater communication is also very important when we do further. In this case of a space, we have a direct communication with electromagnetic, but once if it is there underwater, we have to have only one option called underwater telephony or underwater acoustic further. The last but not least is the launching and recovering, especially when we want to launch this manned sub into the sea and then recover from that. This is the sphere effort by ISRO. It is almost having a thickness of 80 mm thickness. We have a, I think we have been hearing about this Mithani, which has been fabricating that. Right now, the status is almost the sphere has been completed at ISRO at the final stage, and then it will go for testing in the month of July of this next year in 24. Once that is done, I think this manned sub will be realized either end of 2025 or 2026 once all components have been completed. Initially, to test the this manned sub, a shallow water sphere has been developed by NIOT, and then sphere has been tested in the acoustic facility within the NIOT, also in the deep sea. These trials are planned in June 2024 of Ennur, where this sphere will be sent into the deep sea under various stages, and then see how all the systems are being functioned properly or not. This is a small video which tells about how does this manned sub looks like for that, along with the audio.
This is Murthy 6000, a deep-water manned submersible to take 3 human personnel to the hadal depths of the ocean. This manned submersible is being developed by National Institute of Ocean Technology, NIOT, under the Deep Ocean Mission of Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India. Murthy 6000 is an underwater vehicle capable of underwater travel to a depth of 6,000 meters. The underwater travel duration can be for 12 hours in normal conditions and 96 hours in abnormal situations. Murthy 6000, which is 10 meters in length and 3 meters width, 5 meters in height, weighs 28 tons in air. It floats in seawater with a positive buoyancy. The Murthy 6000 design has a 6,000 meter depth rated watertight pressure hull or personnel sphere of 2.1 meters in diameter, which can accommodate 3 personnel. It has 3 viewports to allow personnel inside to view the subsea environment with the help of illumination provided by underwater lights. With a forward speed of 3 knots in water, achievable using underwater thrusters, it can do subsea research, survey sampling, and intervention. The ascent and descent motion of the vehicle will be given by the ballast and trim system, which is energy efficient. Matsya 6000 will be powered by lithium polymer batteries with an energy budget of 100 kilowatt hours. Redundant control architecture and fail-safe emergency and salvage systems will be the key features of Matsya 6000 system. An A-frame-based launching and retrieval with support systems in operations research vessel Sagar Nidhi are envisioned for the Matsya 6000 system. India will be the sixth country to develop a deep water research submersible, along with the United States of America, Russia, France, Japan, and China. Pre-dive check of manned submersible will be carried out on board the ship, along with one pilot and two crew members who embark the manned submersible on the ship deck. Hatch cover will be closed on board and ready for launching. The life support system will be switched on and the diving time count will be started. Launching the vehicle into the water using an AFT A-frame and checking for piloting functions in surface floating conditions. Vehicle will be floating with sufficient freeboard. After carrying out a functionality check of the vehicle in surface floating condition, divers shall release the lifting hook to disengage the submersible and open the manual vent valve for the descent. Pilot will open the vent valves and main ballast tanks are flooded with water. The vehicle will start descending. During the descent, communication between the submersible and the ship, including navigation parameters, vehicle system health, and human life support systems data, shall be through the acoustic communication link. During the descent operation, the velocity of descent shall be controlled predominantly using service drop weights and finer adjustments using a variable ballast system and the thrusters. Using a combination of thrusters and ballast system, maneuvering shall be done at seafloor for the intended purpose like survey, scanning, sample collection, etc. Depending on the sample weight collected during the survey at the bottom, drop weights can be dropped to compensate for the sample weight addition. Keeping the low water level in the variable ballast tanks at the beginning of the ascent helps in taking in water or gaining weight and reducing the submersible ascent velocity as it approaches the sea surface. Before surfacing, at 100 meters water depth, manned submersible shall be stopped to get clearance from the mothership. This is achieved by filling the VVT during the ascending phase and using thrusters if needed. As the submersible surfaces, using the compressed air blowdown operation, water shall be pushed out of the main ballast tanks to ensure sufficient freeboard. Divers shall board the submersible, hook the submersible with the launching system, the A-frame, and recover the submersible on board the mothership. And the Matsya 6000 is taken on board the ship safely.
This is the overall demonstration how it is being operated when this submersible is designed, whether it is from shallow water or deep water. We are expecting first trial should be by 2024, and then once the spear is ready, next March 2026 is the date what has been designed for launching of the main submersible into the system. Coming to the second part of the vertical, which I was telling Dr. Shenoi was very as a lead in the from INCOISE side. It is basically to facilitate climate advisory services for societal and economic benefit of the Indian coastal region. So we have advisories for the sea level rise change, frequency of and intensity of the cyclone, extreme waves and coastal erosion, storm surge and inundation, primary productivity. It is basically developed with observations and then modeling, and ultimately climate change assessment report will be done as a part of this. And these are all the some of the observations which INCOISE has been deploying it in the deep sea as a part of this particular vertical. And this shows about the numerical model from the deep sea to the coastal areas. How do you bring the information? And finally, this particular numerical model will be used for the climate as well services along the coastal areas, either Indian or in other part of the Indian Ocean region. Coming to the exploration, which I mentioned about, there are totally 4 verticals: mapping of the biodiversity, deep sea microbe collection, and then technologies for culturing it, and then anti-fouling element, finally life building molecule for that. Some progress has already been made by National Institute of Ocean Technology as a part of some of the cruises which they have conducted in that. In fact, DNA sequence has been done for the many of the microbes, but a lot more to be done in these areas. Coming to the mapping of biodiversity on the seamounts, one trial has been done off Maldives using a small demand submersible, which is from the Necton. But similar survey is planned in the month of January, February off Lakshadweep on the seamount to really study what is exactly happening on the biodiversity on the seamount for that. Further plan has also been ready from the ministry. Coming to the deep sea survey, hydrogen sulfide, as I mentioned earlier, this was done as a part of Department of Ocean Development along with National Institute of Oceanography, where many sites have been identified. Among the 12 potential sites, 10 sites showing a high promising in terms of hydrogen sulfide. And then from there, we have selected some few sites to go and survey in detail using AUV surveys, autonomous underwater vehicle, where one unit is already available in January, but this exercise also will be completed by between January and then March of 2024, for which all arrangements have been made by the ministry. This is done through the National Center for Polar Ocean Research located in Goa. And then this is the vessel which I was talking about, that state-of-the-art vessel for the deep sea, which has 25 crew and then 35 scientists will be on board with endurance more than 30 days, for which action has been taken, and then most likely we replace the order with there's a company, Indian company, for building of the ship. Energy and freshwater, which I told already on the past. Right now, this specific component is to build a 5 MLT desalination plant in the deep sea, where power as well as desalination is combined as a part of the system using a renewable energy. The challenge is basically to design platform, mooring, and pipeline interconnection. In fact, we had a very better experience in Lakshadweep. Some of the failure of these things, all these things have been incorporated in the design of this proof of concept for the deep sea. This shows some of the observations which you already set up in Lakshadweep, but this also will be ready by end of next year in terms of proof of concept. Advanced Marine Biology Station, some work has been done already on that. We are going to set up a separate unit in Chennai, where this facility will be built up, where many research scholars will come and work under this umbrella as a part of capacity building, and also to transfer the technologies to the industry through incubator. As I was mentioning earlier, it's not only that ministry is doing work alone, but we involve national institutes like many CSIR, DRDO, ISRO, and also many academic. I think academia is also involved on that, especially on the 6 verticals. Some specific components of this project has been given to them, and they will be doing that component and will be integrated in the as a part of the deep ocean mission by the lead institutions. We have National Institute of Ocean Technology, which will operate vertical 1, vertical 3, and vertical 5 and vertical 6. INCOISE will be totally taking care of vertical 2 and ocean climate advisory services. When it comes to the vertical 4 by National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, and then of course there we have in vertical 3 another institute called Center for Marine Living Resources, which is located in the Chennai. So which involves a multi-institutional effort within the country as well as in the outside the area for realizing the mission. And this shows some of the institutions which are already been reviewed by both by Dr. Ramanayanan and then Professor Dasgupta on awarding this project to them, and then where they will be monitoring in very much in detailed about the progress of this project. And then the expected time of completion of most of these components is by 2 years, and then it is well progressing. Coming to the paucity of time, I think maybe my time, I think 40 minutes was given to me. So on the blue economy, briefly I will highlight about what has been done in the ministry. We have a rich ecosystem all along the. Yes, sir, you want to say something?
Yeah, you can continue, sir. There is no time limit as such. You can continue. I
Okay.
hope that is not a problem for others.
These are all some of the ecosystems which were mapped along the Indian coast in terms of the richness in the ecosystem, mangrove and barrier islands, and some of the places like Orissa, it is known for the turtle nesting, and we have beautiful lakes like Chilaka and Pulika, and then many estuaries. They are very rich in ecosystem. Whenever we do these developmental activities, we also need to protect these things. I have given the map there. How many wetlands you have, and then how many estuaries are there. And then when you look at the mangroves, these are all the saltwater and freshwater ecosystem, which is almost 5,000 square kilometers of area we have on that. And coral reefs around 1,400. When we look at MPAs, that is roughly around 6,000 square kilometers. Why these things to be protected is basically for three basic functions. One is it provides its services in providing the important marine growth, especially on the whenever the fisheries they come in the juvenile stage, they will come to these areas and then they nest and all those things, and then once they grow big, they go back to the other system. The second one is about the blue carbon, which fixes the carbon dioxide whenever it is there for that. And third one, it has other functionals like tourism and then etc. So that's why this protection of ecosystem is very important. But now, due to climate change, many of these things are getting affected, and that was the one of the objective of INCOISE to study how this climate change is affecting ecosystem, in addition to the man-made activities by the whatever we do on that area. When we look at a maritime jurisdiction, we have a territorial sea up to 12 nautical miles where most of the resources have been explored. But when we go to the exclusive economic zone, still some of the resources, both living as well as non-living resources, need to be explored and harnessed further. But we go beyond continental shelf where the international waters are there, where we have an agreement with International Seabed Authority and then United Nations, if you want to really explore and harness the resources further. This is how the policy vision for the blue economy is basically to enhance the contribution in the blue economy and then GDP. How this right now, they estimate that somewhere around 4 to 7% is blue economy contributes, but Government of India's policy is to change at least to double digit between 11 to 12 in future, which is going to come up on that. First of all, the biggest challenge is how much is really contributing, blue economy is contributing to the economy, that need to be estimated precisely. These are all some of the policy objectives which has been put on that. Whenever we need to have blue economy, the most important aspect need to be done is good coordination mechanism between the center and the state. So that is why we started focusing on each and every state, what are all their requirements and ambitions for that. But same time, there are functions with central government, with state government on each and every activity when we see different sectors on that. So what Ministry of Earth Sciences is going to do in the future is, we wanted to have a national workshop to be coordinated within the ministries as well as the state government to see what exactly need to be done for that. Initially, government will have some support on that, but later on, mostly it will be done through the individual capacity building within the states for that. That's how this blue economy concept and policy paper has been developed. When we look at the verticals in the blue economy, first one is accounting of the blue economy. How much it really contributes to the GDP. That need to be estimated really in terms of its boundaries and also on the potential. And then mapping of the oceans and coastal areas. And that has not been done. In fact, many of the coastal areas have been mapped, but when you go to the deep sea, a lot more to be done on that. I was telling about this coastal and marine spatial planning. This is the way physically we allocate the minerals or resources and also using the principles of sustainability. And then it's nothing but like suppose if you plan a city, how we are allocating different spaces. Same way in the marine area also, we allocate the spaces using marine spatial planning. And then finally harnessing the economic potential, development of resilient infrastructure. This is where climate change advisory will come into the picture for that, for the future, what we want to do. For all these things requires innovation, research and development and technology adaptation whenever we do for the blue economy. That is the seventh pillar. And then finally, lot of human capital have to be developed for the taking up such kind of major initiative across the country. And also we need to have a good governance and then model and institutional mechanism if we want to implement the blue economy policy and the whole country. In fact, many of the countries like UK and Norway has already come up with the strategy paper for the blue economy. India is yet to come up with this paper because this analysis, this task was given to the Ministry of Earth Sciences to coordinate with all the line ministries. Here I'm showing what are all the sectors which are there on the ports and harbors, fisheries, aquaculture, coastal industry, power plants, renewable energy. On the other side, we have resources on the bottom for that. We have 9 coastal states plus 5-6 union territories, which forms the part of the blue economy policy. But there are many sectors in the blue economy do need to be addressed in that they are all very detailed and elaborate in the system for that. But if you look at an overall emerging sectors, one is tourism, second one is fisheries, and third one we need to worry about the conservation and environmental protection is one of the emerging area. Most important one is maritime transports and the ports when we want to do further. Many of the ports have come up with the modernization techniques within the same capacity itself. How do you augment this port sector on that? One is concept of green shipping and then also green ports, which are coming up in big way to do further. And offshore petroleum is one of the component of that, including which I mentioned here is renewable energy, which is there on Sagarmala project. We all aware, and then this has been done in a great way. But what we try to do as a part of blue economy is map these areas and then see it will not have any adverse impact on the other areas. Whenever we build a port, we are likely to have some impact on the adjacent areas. But once this marine spatial planning concept comes, these kind of things can be almost mitigated for them. What essentially we do is identification of sites which are suitable for the port development, which doesn't have any impact on the adjacent area, so that these things will be analyzed as a part of that. Similarly, when we go for transportation, the ship routes have to be designed based on the oceanographic conditions as well as the climate. And then INCOISE provides advisory services in the many areas. But suppose if you see some of the coastal currents that can be utilized as a part of this shipping transportation, which we want to do further. Coming to the renewable energy, both INCOISE and then NIOT has done some analysis on the attention to the potential along with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. There is an institute called National Institute of Wind Energy, which is located in Chennai. The potential has been identified for Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. Now, most likely next year, we will have a first project, offshore project in Gujarat with viability gap funding. Right now, the levelized cost of energy for the wind is slightly high. So that is why it is not taking up in India. But any countries which need to develop offshore wind for that, we need to provide a initial support from the government to the private industry. Now the policy has already been in place, and where we will be providing a viability gap funding to the system. And then we are closely working with Naval in developing a substructure technology for the offshore wind. These are all some of the blocks, both in Tamil Nadu and then Gujarat, which has been identified. These blocks have been surveyed by both NIOT as well as National Institute of Oceanography in terms of seabed characteristics and geotechnical one. This information will be made available to the private industry to come up with the plan. But the first plant of 100 megawatt will be developed using a viability gap funding of somewhere around 4 rupees per unit, and then balance will be put up by the industry and the system. Once it takes off, later on, it can be taken up by industry because they minimize the uncertainties in the offshore wind setting up in that. In fact, unless we have infrastructure like ports and harbors for the offshore industry, it will not take up. The same way in solar, when they have started that project, it was somewhere around 17 rupees per unit, but now it has come to 3 to 4 rupees. That's how offshore wind to come up in long way, government has to provide initial support to the industry to come up for them. This shows some of the analysis which was done, in fact, by me in terms of cost and assessment. How do we compensate on that in terms of levelized cost of energy? Today, suppose if you want to set up an offshore wind plant, it will be costing around 20 crores per megawatt. But what return we may get is only 16 crores per megawatt. So the balance, what we call for the 4 crore per megawatt, need to be supplied by the government unless this technology has been matured or infrastructure has been developed in the state for them. This shows the desalination plant which was built in Lakshadweep. That's what Dr. Shenoi was talking about, that I was involved in all these desalination plants for the Lakshadweep. Right now they have already 3 plants in operation, but 6 more, almost 5 plants are in operation, and the 4 more plants will be likely to be completed by the next year. This shows about in the rural areas as a part of blue economy. Suppose we want to do a solar desalination, there is already one pilot plant in Kanyakumari, which was built for that, but a lot of potential is there for utilizing non-renewable energy for the desalination, which will be done at the coastal areas for that. I have already discussed about this PMN things which for that, but what we need to do for such kind of blue economy is marine spatial planning, and it involves both economic development, social and cultural consideration is built into the system, and finally ecology plays a important role in the overall for that. Finally, once we have this plan, we need to evaluate and then measure this, how much it is being generated from the what we call from the blue economy. There we use the principle called ocean accounting framework. Ministry of Earth Sciences is working closely with the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation to value this blue economy and convert this into the numbers, and then see how do we improve this this number to the next level using a proper policy or strategy for that. This shows the MSP. So far, we have been doing planning on the land, that is called as a development plan. But once we come to the coast, it is called as a coastal zone management plan. But once we go to the deep sea, beyond 12 nautical miles, it is called as a marine spatial plan for that. So this concept is not new. We start with the development plan, then go to the integrated coastal zone management plan, where some part in the coast and some part in the land will be taken up. But once we go into the deep sea, marine spatial planning fund, how it is very important is, if you want to identify the blocks for the oil and gas or renewable energy or mineral, all those things can be properly planned with separate layers in the geographical information system, which can be used for a spatial planning. And also same time, we will also map the ecosystem in these areas, how to study the conflict further. This shows the ICGM is a subset of marine spatial plan. We have already done some mapping for Lakshadweep, and then Puducherry. We had a lot of interaction with the state government. This is what I was telling in the beginning. Whenever we want to implement a blue economy, we need to have very good coordination with the state government for that. And finally, you value the ecosystem, how much it is going to be disturbed, or how do we protect and conserve the ecosystem for that. This shows some of the ecosystems in one in Koringa, I think in Andhra Pradesh, it is called as the mangrove, and same thing in the Pulicat Lake. A detailed analysis has been done for these areas and value the ecosystem, what services it provides to the public in terms of habitat, diversity, and fishery whenever we have the ecosystem on the system for that. Finally, the coordinating mechanism, what we have for the this blue economy is, on the top, we have Government of India with NIAT, INCOISE and MOFCC. Next level, we have a state and national coastal zone management authority and state coastal zone management. But when we see central agencies, there are many central agencies will come into the picture. Ultimately, we also take into accounts of NGOs, fishermen community, and local panchayat levels. That's how these plans will be made. And then finally, we will follow the sustainable development goal. I think that Shenoi was already mentioning about that, where if you want to survive in the future, we adopt this SDG. SDG 14 is basically talks about the life below the water, where marine pollution is also controlled. Ministry has a long program along the coastal areas to minimize the pollution, and also how much treatment is required from the land-based activities before disposing this waste into the sea. That is also been covered as a part of that. In fact, the data directly goes to the NITI Aayog and also the international community, IOC, I think, which he was saying for that. So once we put the data on the international framework, we ourselves are clear what action plan is required for minimizing the marine pollution which is coming into the coastal areas further. This shows the complex interaction. Everything has been done by the Ministry of Earth. In fact, this work is done by the National Center for Coastal Research, where we collect all the data and integrate into that. Coastal vulnerability maps are being prepared with along with INCOISE. So now we have a very good synergy within the ministry as well as outside the ministry, and also with the state government to take up these policies to the ground level. And this shows the activities in the marine area, and then pressures what we have on that. We also analyze the conflicts between the different sectors, and finally synergies will come through the marine clusters, which is formed as a part of physical as well as policy planning as a part of marine spatial planning for that. This shows the compatibility and conflict matrix about various sectors and the ecosystem, and how these things have been analyzed in toto to see that there is no adverse impacts on the ecosystem for that. Also, we address these disasters like coastal erosion and all flooding as a part of blue economy policy. I think Dr. Shenoi was telling about this was one of the projects which we have implemented along with him and Dr. Ramana in the Pondicherry, where there was completely beach was lost. If you see on the bottom picture, there were only stones which were there on that. The waves used to come and break on the top. We have recreated the beach in Pondicherry. Now, if you go and see Pondicherry, you will have a beautiful beach which you can enjoy for that. In fact, such kind of solutions are required for many part of the coastal areas. It not only gives the beach, but also enhance the ecosystems like there is a submerged reef which was built in the Pondicherry, which has generated a good ecosystem, and then fishery potential has also increased. That's why we call it as a multifunctional reef for restoration of Pondicherry beach, which is one of the successful project of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, which was effort of many of the individuals, like I think Dr. Shenoi, myself, and then NIOT, some of my colleagues, and then also in NCCR. It is one of the successful project in the system. Coming to my summary, India has a long coastline, and then with 2.3 square meters of EEZD, we need to have technologies for exploration of harnessing of resources, especially on the water, energy, mineral, and living resources, adapting to the sustainability principle to avoid the damage to the ecosystem, and promotion of ecotourism and clean energy, and production of coastline islands from the climate change, especially from the flooding and coastal erosion, regulation of marine pollution. Now the marine litter is also one of the major threat. And finally, international cooperation in the blue economy, using the best practices across the country, capacity building and institutional mechanism for implementation of ocean policy in the long run. This is the overall presentation linking to the blue economy and deep ocean mission. They are not independent, but they are together. But we need to integrate and then see for that in all aspects of the sectors how we are going to cover that. With this few things, I thank. This is my last slide. This is the Pondicherry. What you could able to see beach. That why normally I use this slide is we had a success on this area. I think what sand patch we are seeing on the bottom is it was not there earlier. Now it has come back to the system. You can see the stone wall. Earlier waves are coming and breaking on the top. Now we have a beautiful beach in the Pondicherry. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramanamurthy, for a elaborate and a very informative talk about the deep ocean mission, as well as its impacts on blue economy, and also which are the areas India is looking at in the expansion in the blue economy, and how we can approach on various aspects of blue economy. It was a wonderful talk. So I guess we can have few questions. Is that right, Dr. Iyengar?
So we can wait for the questions, sir. And meanwhile, we can also wait for the chief guests. It's your choice, sir. You can have it,
if there are questions, we can quickly go over the questions, and then
yes,
we will request our chief guest to give his remarks before we.
Then I request the participants to please put their questions in the Q&A box. Participants may please put their questions in the Q&A box.
Somebody from INA will read out the question so that
Yes.
Dr. Ramanamurthy can answer one by one.
Request the participants, if there are any questions, please. Yes, yes. Please.
Can I suggest that by the time we get questions from the participants, possibly we can have the kind of a discussion from the chief guest, Professor Ramanarayanan. He can give an idea about what his thoughts are because he has been involved. And then we can have the question answer session.
Yeah, I
was
think
just wondering.
that's a good suggestion. If question, I thought that already the questions are there with the INA organizers. That's why I thought we can take up the questions first. I think that's a good suggestion by Dr. Dasgupta. I think we can have the remarks and his comments and views on this webinar topic And let me request Dr. Ramanarayanan to make his remarks.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Shenoi. In fact, Institute of Naval Architects is fairly very close to my heart. It is because of the fact when I joined in 1982, my boss, Rear Admiral Chowdhury, was a naval architect from IIT Kharagpur.
Yes.
My immediate boss, Commodore Mukherjee, another naval architect, again from IIT Kharagpur. In fact, I learned quite a bit of engineering discipline. Discipline means not knowledge part of it. The structural discipline one needs to follow when we are trying to do something new. In fact, they taught me as to how we should go about looking to solve a problem in engineering in terms of what assumptions we make. In fact, most of the engineering problems leading to solutions fail because of the assumptions that are made are not appropriate and the constraints in which we are working. I mean, we are not given, n degrees of freedom to work in a problem. We do have constraints. If we are very clear about the assumptions and the constraints, then it becomes the plans for us to execute. In fact, my association with NIOT is been there for more than 15 years. Initially, NIOT used to help us in recovering the, prototype torpedoes, which are fired initially in our lake test facility in Nagan Sagar and subsequently in the sea. And during the initial phases of the trials, normally it happens, every country loses some torpedoes. And along with the torpedoes, the data also goes down. There is no means or mechanism available those days for getting to know as to why the torpedo sunk. Unless we recover the torpedo, we don't get the information also. And NIOT was a big help for us. And I personally was committed and indebted to NIOT and in turn, of course, to Ministry of Earth Sciences for all the support they gave during the initial phase of development of our own indigenous torpedoes. Subsequently, of course, having moved to multiple places and finally landing up in as an academic administrator in DIAT, my association was rekindled by me getting an active participation in this review committees. This review committee, in fact, even before that, what I should say is the presentation what Dr. Ramana gave is actually mind-boggling. In the sense, he not only talked about the lateral distances in terms of thousands of kilometers on the sea surface, but also went right up to the bottom of 6,000 meters. If that is the volume we need to cover, and that is the space that is going to be available for us to generate the data, and that is the space that is going to be available for the country to do the exploration in terms of marine, whatever it is, all the verticals what he talked about. It is a mammoth task. It is not something, which with a very short-sighted span of time and cost we will be able to do it. And also I know, after having come to DIAT, I came to know that both Chinese and Americans are trying to do a similar type of work with a little bit of advanced technology. In the sense, you see, practically from what Dr. Ramana said, if a submersible has to go down up to that much depth and try to do scanning and all that, it is not only technologically challenging, it is going to be a challenge even for those personnel who are going to be there. What these two country people are trying to do is a different approach. The reason as to why I am mentioning this is, after having learnt about this, we are also at DIAT trying to do we have done something considerable in this. In the sense, from the above surface of sea, there are particular frequencies in our light emission in terms of lasers frequencies, which when it hits the water surface, gets converted into an acoustic wave and starts traveling. And depending upon what depth you want to go or at what speed you want the reflections to come up and come out of surface and be collected by the helicopter or whatever it is, of course, ultimate aim being the satellites. the energy levels or the power levels can be decided. But believe me when I say that the top university in US and the Chinese Science Society, they have been able to establish that with very short, very small economical expenditure. Of course, in addition to the development of technology, they were able to scan 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers in a matter of 3.5 hours. Of course, they didn't share the results for whatever reasons it is, but they were able to do that. That is what the Americans have claimed. What the Chinese people have done is, the area over which you want to study the ocean bed and the bottom, they said that they have dispersed some nanoparticles, which additionally maybe reduces the losses that are taking place as at the interface, and we are able to pump in adequate energy to go down to the seabed and collect the data and come back. These type of technologies, of course, for us, it is definitely futuristic, also need to be addressed so that, we are, technology is something which if you don't catch up or keep running along with it, we'll be outdated very soon. The reason, in my opinion, is with so much of volume of blue water economy being available, it is the responsibility of these institutes and the Ministry of Earth Sciences to find out the best economical means of delivering these solutions so that we are able to maintain a sustainability in terms of, cost effectiveness also. In fact, I had an opportunity to participate in a meeting chaired by the Secretary, Department of Earth Sciences. Of course, my earlier experiences in this type of programs big nature, which are of big in terms of cost, time frame, and technology, like Agni program and all that, where I was a member. I was really surprised that, a very small team is trying to really take on this mammoth task of handling a really challenging technology with, within a very short span of time and within a short, reasonably, I will say, a very small amount of money. This nature of program, in my opinion, will require anywhere between 9,000 to 10,000 crores spread over some more time. This time is very, very optimistic time frame, because most of the technologies what Dr. Ramanamurthy spoke about are to be engineered for a particular application where, you can't afford to have a loss of life at any cost. When when we are ready to send a man to moon, but even a Chandrayaan, what ROV lands there, when people get so much excited, tomorrow when you are going to send 3 people down the ocean up to 6,000 meters, you will be creating a history in not only in Indian technological front, but as you said, we will be the 6th country in the whole world doing it. It is such a serious, such a challenging, and such a phenomenal, I don't know what adjectives I should use, is the type of task that you are having in hand. And believe me when I say, whenever a government takes up this type of projects, there will be n number of critics who will be always looking for opportunities to criticize, because that is one way of trying to put down our R&D of the government of India, by which, the countries would like to sell their products to us. That is the normal business interest what this, so-called friendly countries have. Against all these odds, when you say that we will be able to take up this program and run it through, it gives immense satisfaction to participate in this, in a discussion like this, which is organized by Institute of Naval Architects. I am committing to whatever extent I can, not only on behalf of my own self, but on the behalf of my institute. Any possible help that can be, that we can be of to you in continuing this. But let me tell you that technology has got no mercy. If you don't do it right, it doesn't work. In fact, it may look very harsh for me to say this statement, but we should accept that just because we are pious, just because we are good, systems don't work. It has to be done the correct way, and it has to be done in the way it will work, and then only it will work. The challenges in terms of technology, what you brought about in all the 6 verticals, in fact, requires that type of attention, and with a leadership like Dr. Ramanamurthy being available here as mission director or program director, I am sure that we will be able to achieve and make India proud of having its own technology for underwater. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramanarayanan, for your very precise comments. I think you have highlighted the importance of deep ocean mission, as well as the importance of engineering, what is going into that. Especially, you have highlighted that it is not that just the distance. It is this is going down 6,000 meters. So the challenge is, I think it is manifold. I can't say that it is doubled or tripled or whatever it is, because as we go down in the water, the tremendous pressure will start acting on all this machinery, whatever we are lowering there, and that has to be overcome. And as you say, we cannot afford losing any life. So the sensitivity of the manned submersible also is increasing. I think it's right comments, and I really appreciate Dr. Ramanarayan's deep views on this project, and also I appreciate his association with the Deep Ocean Mission of MOES, because with the kind of experience and knowledge in engineering, especially in the naval architecture, in the ocean engineering, which he is bringing, it is a great asset for our country. And I am sure with the guidance of people like Dr. Ramanarayanan, NIOT team will be able to achieve that success. Thank you very much for your very precise and very apt comments on Dr. Ramanamurthy's topic, today's talk, and also warning about the difficulties and the issues which has to be kept in mind while developing such technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ramana. I see few questions in the Q&A box. I think we can quickly go over that, and then I will request the President of INA, Dr. Dasgupta, to make his comments, and then I'll request Dr. Iyengar, the Chief Organizer, to guide us which way we can conclude this session. Then. Dr. Iyengar,
with your permission, sir, we can just go through the question and answer section.
Yes, yeah. That's why we will
so
go through
we can, with your permission, sir, we can add the people who are asking questions to the panel. If you wish, they can verbally also ask their questions, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have added Mr. Kamal Palit to the panel. I would request Mr. Palit to ask us or give us some questions.
Yeah, Dr. Kamal Palit, you can ask a question verbally.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You are on mute right now, Mr. Kamal Palit. You can unmute yourself and go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
sir, we can hear you, sir.
I want to thank Dr. Ramanamurthy for his wonderful presentation. I learned many things what India is doing now and capable to do in the future. As a naval architect at Kolkata, I express my gratitude to Dr. Ramanamurthy and to the chief guest and to the chair. I have nothing much to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Being a very senior member of our community, it is a very welcome appreciation, sir. Now I would request Mr. Rahul Krishna. You had a question, you can just ask that question. Is there any AV missions planned in the upcoming years before the Samudrayan mission? That was the question of Mr. Rahul Krishna. He's on the panel. And is there any AV missions which are planned before the Samudrayan mission? That's a question, sir.
Yes, I think I have already mentioned about that. I think we have planned the AU mission in between January to February 2024. For that, all the preparations are already made.
Yes, sir. The next question is by Professor Dr. K.S. Simon. What is the estimated time involved for the compression and decompression of the manned submersible besides the 12 hours endurance time?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You can ask your question directly, sir.
Yeah. I also must thank Dr. Ramanamurthy for the very illuminative talk, I must say. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him. I suppose, I don't know if we are going to compress and decompress the chamber in which the three lives are going to exist. If we are going to compress and decompress, then it will take time. It's a gradual process. I suppose it is not going to be done. Can you clarify that point?
Yes, in fact, when we do the testing for this manned sub, especially for the sphere, now the testing is planned in Russia after the July. So right now we have hyperbolic chamber which tests up to the 600 bar in the sea, but we don't have facility within the country. So this will be taken up to the Russia, and then this testing will be done before deploying into the sea. The second question is about having such kind of facility within the country itself. Now that we are planning, maybe it may take time, but these things are addressed as a two components. One is in the design stage itself for the fatigue load, whatever we are going to have, that will be designed, this sphere is designed for that. But at the same time, testing also will be carried out in Russia once the sphere is ready from this road.
Is the atmosphere inside the sphere going to be of usual, normal pressure, or is it going to be increased when the vessel is down there at 6,000 kilometers?
The design pressure, what is done for the this present case is around almost 1.5 times what has been designed for this sphere, both for compression as well as release for that. You suppose if you are doing for 600 bar, so we may test 1.5 times of the pressure what has been done for that.
No, within the sphere.
Yeah,
What will be the
inside the
pressure?
sphere, I think it will be same as our atmospheric pressure.
That's
the
right.
people
Okay,
ask-
thank you very much.
Isn't it, Dr. Ramanamurthy?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think Dr. Shaurya Datta Singh, he has a question. So please, sir. His question was on. Yeah. Please, sir. You can ask it directly. Sir.
Hello. No, sir. Hello.
Hello, sir. Yes, sir. You can be a bit loud, sir. Your voice is.
No, sir. I am from MIT University, sir. Now I am proceeding my engineering degree in Naval Architecture and Offshore Engineering. Sir, I am from third year. Sir, I want to ask question, sir, that whether the submarine will go inside 6,000 feet, so sir, it will be any effect on the submarine due to pressure or not, sir? Hello.
Can you
Sir,
repeat? I could not hear. Can you repeat that?
No, his question is how it can withstand 6,000 meter because the pressure will be high at that depth. So will it withstand that kind of a pressure? That's the question.
No, actually, this sphere is designed for that. If you see the titanium alloy, that's what it is made for that. It will withstand the pressure once it goes to the down. Right now, for 6,000 meters, pressure, it has the particular alloy has been designed, and then the mansub is designed for that.
Okay. Sir, as recently, sir, that Titanic submarine has been sink in the water, sir. So what is the reason for that, sir, the Titanic submarine, sir?
There are so many theories. In fact, that Ramdas, who has designed that, in fact, he spoke in many of the areas. Actually, rarely, if you do the failure analysis for the Titan, it is not completely known what are the circumstances. But it is very difficult to comment on this. But even internationally, also, no one who are all qualified, they have not given a clear answer, because unless you know about what conditions they have been fabricated and designed, it is very difficult to say on them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your lecture, sir. Very wonderful lecture it was. Very, very thank you, sir.
Also, as I understand, every component of this AUV is being certified by DAV, I think some international agency at each stage, isn't it?
DNV. Actually, each and every component in the Mansab is certified by the DNV.
So that gives that confidence.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Madhu Joshi has a question, sir. She was asking, what are the government incentives for sea wave electricity generation? That is his question. That is a question. Government incentives for sea wave electricity generation. Are there any government incentives?
No, right now on the sea wave, actually, right now I talked about offshore wind. When it comes to the offshore wind, there are basically 3 types of incentives which comes into that. One is this carbon credit. That is something around 1 rupee per unit they will get from the renewable energy. Second one, even after having that, earlier they used to have accelerated depreciation. This is about the basically whatever the tax which they are paying for that, but now that has been removed. And third one, which I mentioned about for the wind, is viability gap funding. But as far as wave is concerned, such kind of incentives are not there except renewable energy certificate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Kileshwar Nathan has a question. Is it a fixed platform or a semi-submersible platform typically used for mining purposes in the project?
Right now, mining is been undertaken with the mothership of which is a floating one. What has been designed? Since we are going for the exploratory mining, it is through the ship which is floating.
So that more or less completes the question and answer session, sir. Now handing over the session back to the chair.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Iyengar, for conducting the question answer session. And let me now request the president of INA, Dr. Dasgupta, to give his remarks.
Thank you very much. Firstly, let me correct all of you. I'm not Dr. Dasgupta, I'm Mr. Dasgupta. I do not have any PhD degree. So to begin with that, the second thing is,
you may not have a registered degree, but I think by knowledge, you are a doctor. Yes.
Thank you. And I sincerely thank Dr. Ramanamurthy, also Professor Ramanarayanan, and to you, Dr. Shenoi, for coming for this seminar. The coverage that Dr. Ramanamurthy has given in his talk, as Dr. Ramanarayanan has also mentioned, is both wide and deep. It's a huge, monumental, mammoth task to be handled. And therefore, it's something on which the entire maritime community, both naval architects, engineers of all disciplines, and naval architecture being one of the disciplines associated with maritime industry, should be totally engaged. And we can provide a lot of insights and a lot of inputs to the development of this work. And that is the basic premise on which I thought that we should have this talk amongst us to this community. And with your permission, we have recorded it, and we shall be distributing it to all the naval architects in our community. So it's going to be an eye-opener for what all things are lying ahead with us. We are at a point where there is a paradigm shift in the entire industry, maritime industry, driven by 2 essential things. One is decarbonization. The other is smart maritime, application of ICT internet communication technology. So both these are making a lot of change in the entire maritime industry, covering the trade as well as the manufacturing. And these need to be applied, and possibly here, the naval architectural community can come on board and provide insights and help you out in all your activities. We do have our institution in which we can take up any project, we can provide services to you if you desire, and in fact, we can help you out in terms of in any manner that you desire. So this is my only point. Regarding the coverage, I don't have any question really. It's huge. My association with NIOT goes back to the days when Sagar Niti was brought from Fincantieri, when I had gone to Fincantieri with Dr. The then director of NIOT to have a look at this vessel and take the vessel in, have the initial talks with them. And then I have been associated with NIOT and also NIO during the last 20-25 years. And in the recent times, I have been fortunate to be able to be associated on the different project evaluations. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Ramanamurthy. Thank you very much, sir. That's from my end individually, and I would return it back to you, sir, Dr. Shenoi.
Thank you, Dr. Dasgupta, for your very deep, thought-provoking comments and remarks, and also highlighting your association, long-standing association with NIOT and various activities which have been taken up by NIOT. Thank you very much for being associated with NIOT as well as with the Deep Ocean Mission project activities. Let me now request Dr. Iyengar to take over and guide us how we conclude this session.
Now, with your permission, sir, perhaps now with all the panelists having given their opinions and comments, it's very enriching for us, sir. I would request Dr. Shenoi to make his summing up remarks with the whole session, and then we'll just conclude the session after your summing up remarks and the question and answers as well as the whole sessions. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Iyengar. To sum up the session, we started with the talk by Dr. Ramanamurthy on Deep Ocean Mission and Blue Economy. Dr. Ramanamurthy started the talk by giving us a perspective of Blue Economy, or the stake of India in Blue Economy. And then he went narrating about the Deep Ocean Mission, its various 6 verticals. And he went very meticulously on pointing out what are the major objectives of each vertical, and what would be the outcome from each of those verticals, and how they are going to be influential in Blue Economy activities which has been set up by Government of India. Having done that, then Dr. Ramanamurthy went into the Blue Economy aspects. He narrated about 9 verticals of Blue Economy, which has been more or less have been shortlisted by Government of India from accounting of Blue Economy to various aspects of marine spatial planning, and also the fisheries, and as well as the technology development aspects, port and harbors, the infrastructure on the coast as well as in the ocean, freshwater generation, in addition to what has been done already in the Lakshadweep group of islands. I think 7 or 8 islands have been equipped with their own freshwater or desalination plants. And also he spoke about the wind energy potential along the Indian coast, and how that is coming up, and also mentioned about other potential from the ocean thermal energy as well as from the wave energy, but they are still in the nascent stages, which are not yet ready for commercialization or industrialization. Overall, the talk was very informative and very thought-provoking, and also I'm sure that it was a lot more informative for those who are not associated with this deep ocean mission to know what is going on in our country and where we are trying to reach. And now already we reached the moon, and now our next target is going at the seabed at the 6,000 meter below the sea surface, and how Ministry of Earth Science is leading that activity through various organizations of the Ministry of Earth Sciences. So, in my opinion, the talk was very informative and very thought-provoking. And our chief guest, Dr. Ramanarayanan, also reflected in the same lines, and he also highlighted how difficult these tasks are, and also he was very appreciative that with a small team and small budget and within a short period of time, how MOES is trying to achieve this. And also he cautioned about the importance of right kind of engineering at which has to be done at the right way to achieve the targets and the goals. The questions were very to the point. Some of the questions, a couple of questions on mainly on the pressure effects on the manned submersible, as well as about other requirements. And Dr. Dasgupta also summarized the talk very nicely. So overall, this is a very successful session, which we had opportunity to hear from the mission director of Deep Ocean Mission, not only about the Deep Ocean Mission, also its links with the blue economy and how we are looking at the blue economy from the government point of view, and the sustainable development. As a final comment, I must appreciate all the engineers, especially those who are working in the ocean engineering sector. These days, the engineering is much tougher because it is not just demonstrating the engineering or making it more or less cost effective. You also have the responsibility to make it a sustainable, because it has to meet these SDG goals. So that's a huge responsibility. How the engineering can work without disturbing or without harming the environment. That is more important in these days of climate change. With these remarks, let me conclude my summary and hand over back to Dr. Iyengar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Come to the last part of my privilege to give the vote of thanks. The first thanks is to the chief guest for today, Dr. C.P. Ramanarayanan. Long back, maybe 20 years back, when I joined the lab, he was a senior scientist who was advising me well, and when I contacted, he immediately agreed to chair the session. Today's his comments, as well as warning us of both the magnitude of the challenge, as well as warning us of the fact that this is a quotation which I'll always take back, that technology has no mercy. There is something which I can going to put as a slogan in my thing, sir. Thank you for chairing the session and being the chief guest today, sir. Thanks to Dr. Shenoi, very aptly chairing the session, as well as brilliant summing up, sir, of the session, which was mind-boggling in the entire spectrum, and it was brilliantly summed up, as well as thank you, sir. Thank you for agreeing and chairing the session. Very nice, sir. And thanks to Dr. Ramanamurthy. The topic was simply mind-boggling, addressing 6 verticals in the deep ocean mission and 9 verticals in the blue economy with sustainable development goals. The spectrum of your talk is very vast, and it was simply mind-boggling, sir. But at the same time, all of us were able to very comprehensively understand, and that's more important when we are having such a vast coverage of topics. All of us could actually understand, sir. Thanks for both the coverage as well as your brilliant talks. Thanks to the 39 participants today. We had about 40 participants, including some students who were actively participating in the question and answer session also. So the knowledge dissemination has very much happened, and probably it is a seed to expanding this knowledge base in this sector in India. And always, Dasgupta sir is our say backbone supporter advisor, and thanks, sir, and as well as for your comments today in the panel. And Mr. Amir, who is our technical IT sector, IT is in charge of the entire IT of INA, and also coordinating this session in the background well and seamlessly ensuring that this webinar is happening without any technical glitch. Thanks, Amir. And thanks for all the participants, 13 and 40 participants. Thank you also, and with the permission, we can conclude this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great opportunity to meet INA members and also interact with Dr. Dasgupta, Dr. Iyengar, and more importantly, our chief guest, Dr. Ramanarayanan. Of course, Dr. Ramanamurthy, I know for a long time, and we also meet now and then. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir.